Hello again, and thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you're not a subscriber to the channel yet, please subscribe. It would mean the world to me. In this video, we are playing against Katsu. Katsu, as many other heroes, has gotten some additional cards in the additional slots in Super Slam, the expansion slots. And so, yeah, there are the ninja lovers out there that will definitely bring Katsu also to one of the tournaments close to you. And I expect at least a few at the Calling in Hamburg in a couple of days. So let's take a look at how this game against Katsu goes. All right, my opponent had to start. I was allowed to choose, so I went for second. And I think my hand is quite okay for going second with two D-reacts and 2/3 blocks. I often do not block the first Kodachi that Katsu sends at me, because even with 3 cards, but also 2 resources floating, there's still so much potential for Katsu to do some nasty stuff and get ahead quite a bit. So yeah, here I elect to not block the first Kodachi. And then comes a Searching Strike for 5. So I do put a 3 block in front of it, and then also use one of the sink belows in order to block this out. I do not sink a card here. I like having a second sink. And yeah, Save a Bloodshed either is a good arsenal target, well, not arsenal target, but a good target for my next turn. Yeah, but also a good card to block with if there's more. So here comes a Whelming Gust Wave, which is live because of the Searching Strike. And so here I decide to block with a second Sink Below. Obviously being a little bit vulnerable for Ancestral Empowerment. But yeah, I mean, that would have been a crazy start hand if he had that as well. So here I only block with a Sink, expecting my opponent to pass here. Yes, he does. So taking the Save a Bloodshed into my next turn. Unfortunately, I do not get a blue here. And so there are, well, a few options for sure, right? I could play the Mark of the Black Widow, flick one of the Hunter's Clave, then use the Stains of the Red back for Go Again to bring it up to 6. But that would leave me with 2 cards in hand. I still elect to do this. So now I'm flicking a Clave. But what I do is not playing the Stains of the Red back, as my opponent has not blocked. But now I actually have 2 reds in order to play the Command and Conquer, right? So this deals 4 damage, 5 with the flick of the Clave. And now I'm also threatening their arsenal. So they need to banish a card from hand right now. And then they either need to give me 6 block here, or they also lose their arsenal plus 6 life, which would already set us apart by 10 life total. And my opponent decides not to block here. So we got the Searching Strike yellow from their hand and a Tempest Palm Ghost Wave, so the new card from the expansion slot from his arsenal. Again, seeing a full red hand here on my next turn, and my opponent not being marked is not ideal, of course. But so my opponent starts with a Surging Strike red, so second red Surging Strike. And he already has seen 2 yellow Surging Strikes, which is kind of insane. Yeah, so obviously now the question is, what does he have in hand? And so I decide not to block this, because with just 1 card in hand, I think that my opponent can't do that much, even with the Katsu ability. And I mean, Searching Strike in itself is not the threatening card, right? It's a chain start and it deals quite a bit of damage. But if the next card, for example, is another Gust Wave that draws a card, if they elect to get this now with the Katsu ability, then I still have, depending on how much damage it comes in for, most likely, I still have Scarred Tissues to block with, and then could use, for example, the Leave No Witnesses, or the Kiss of Death on my turn. Both not ideal, of course, but yeah, I don't want my opponent to draw a card here. And so I do elect to use the Leave No Witnesses and the Black Tag Whispers, which obviously blocks 4. And that, on my turn at least, presents quite a bit of damage, because I could use the Kiss of Death and 1 or 2 Scar Tissues. So it could threaten 10 life in total, also marking my opponent. But I could also elect to just use 1 Scar Tissue. That would be 7 damage in total. and marking my opponent. But here my opponent blocks with a Dishonor, so play 1 Scar Tissue to definitely go over it, and yeah, immediately also play the second Scar Tissue to go up to 9 damage plus lose a life. And my opponent actually had another Flick Flack in hand, so yeah, playing 2 was definitely fine here. If I would have not played the second Scar Tissue immediately and my opponent plays the Flick Flag, I would use the second Scar Tissue as well. But most likely I could have sequenced this a little differently, only using 1 Scar Tissue and keeping the second one for my next hand. Cool. So my opponent is marked, so Mask of Deceit is live in theory. I see 2 more Leave No Witnesses, Mark of Black Widow and Persuasive Prognosis blue. So I definitely want to discard a card for the mark for the Arakni Orbweaver. In this case, most likely the blue Mark of the Black Widow, I think. And then come in with the Chelicera for go again. And then I can use the Persuasive Prognosis to pitch into Hunter's Clave and then follow up with one of the Leave No Witnesses, putting the second one into Arsenal. Again, threatening the arsenal of my opponent, and he's already down to 21. So here my opponent blocks with the Breeze Rider Boots as well as a Torrent of Tempo, so 4 in total. I do not have an option to give go again. Obviously, it would be different with the Snapdragon Scalers. I could actually throw another Leave No Witnesses here, but I'm also fine putting it into Arsenal. My opponent is marked. I have a Save a Bloodshed. I also have a Cut from the Same Cloth, and I do have enough resources to pitch at least into one of the daggers, but also a floating tuning resource. So I definitely have some options to block here. I could technically block with the Mark of the Black Widow here. Use the Codex of Inertia to pitch or eventually even play it. Then comes in for the Searching Strike for 5. Still 1 card in hand, 1 in Arsenal. There are multiple options. For example, I could use Mask of Deceit here to search for one of the traps. That would definitely block the Searching Strike in full. I could also block with Mark of the Black Widow and, I don't know, Cut from the Same Cloth, for example. Or I let this hit and see what comes next, right? I mean, he has the chain starter already. There are many second options, right? All right, and next he actually has a Descendant Gust Wave, so I think it was fine to not block here with the to block the Searching Strike. In this case, because I have quite some dagger power here, I decide to use the Mask of Deceit to roll into Tarantula, being very optimistic that I get to use many of my cards. But my opponent has other plans, because here comes a Bonds of Ancestry, and he banishes a Dishonor to get another Dishonor. And now with a hit of Bonds of Ancestry, my opponent also breaks the Mask of the Pouncing Lynx and the Breeze Rider Boots to get a second Dishonor. Or better to say a third one, because he blocked with the other one before. So now there are 2 Dishonors coming my way. So I definitely need to block with whatever I have, unfortunately. Which is, in this case, Dishonor, the first one comes for 4. So I can block with a Cut from the Same Cloth as well as the Codex of Inertia. And next up comes for 3, if I'm not mistaken. So I can use the Save a Bloodshed. There aren't options to give it more power, right? Because the Tiger Stripe Shuko is already in use. Or yes, in use now, right? So it gets +1 from the Tiger Stripe Shuko. So I don't have cards. The roll into Tarantula was not needed. It would have been better if I would have rolled into the Trapdoor, because that would have allowed me to keep Save a Bloodshed, use the Tunic resource to come with the Chelicera for 5, threatening a card draw, right? And here I still decide to use the Tunic resource to come in for 1 with the Chelicera, because I am Tarantula and my opponent would lose another life. So it goes down to 19, not blocking this. And I select to keep the Leave No Witnesses in Arsenal, because my opponent does not have an Arsenal right now. All right, So my next hand has a Codex, sink below, 2 blues. So enough definitely to pitch into the daggers, but not necessarily needed. So I could block with both blues. One is a 2 block, one is a 3 block because I don't have any auras game, and also sink below, obviously a good target here, also allowing me to swap out one of the blues. So not blocking the Kodachis here again. Going down to 22. Next up is a yellow Descendant Gust Wave for 2. Given I have the Overcrowded that only blocks for 2 right now, I want to block with this card. So it doesn't seem my opponent's hand is... Well, it can still be strong, right? It can still be a Bonds. But yeah, starting with a yellow Descendant Gust Wave is definitely limiting the options here, I guess. Not an expert Katsu player, so there might be other lines, but it's not the ones that I'm super afraid about yet. Okay, so my opponent is playing a Prowess of Agility. Had to reread that card because I haven't seen it lately. And he passes. Okay, so what I want to do here now is to eventually use Leave No Witnesses and the Codex. So I can use the Sink Below and the Orb Weaver Spinneret to pitch into the Kodachi, I wanted to say, into the Hunter's Glaive, right? Then play the Leave No Witnesses. If he doesn't block that, I could use the Black Tag Whisperers, go into Codex of Frailty, and then use, a Leave No Witnesses again, or a Command and Conquer, which I think I haven't played yet. But here actually, because I don't have a Command and Conquer in graveyard yet, I choose to go with a Graphene Chelicera for 2, go again to get some more damage in, and now the Leave No Witnesses. Most likely he's going to block this anyway, but in case he is not, I can use the Black Tech Whispers to come in with another one. And worst case, I just put the Codex of Frailty into Arsenal. But here he doesn't block. Obviously that can still be a D-React, but I use the Black Tech Whispers nonetheless. So I get go again, Leave No Witnesses hit for 4. I get a even bigger than that from the top of the deck and a red 100 wins from the Arsenal, which allows me to get a silver. And now I can play another Leave No Witness. And by the way, I actually did have a Command and Conquer, right? So I could have also played the Command and Conquer line to play around any D-Reacts and 2 more damage. Damage-wise, it would have been the same, right? Because the 1 resource I used for Graphene Chelicera came in for 2. So it's, 6 or 6. But here my opponent decides what he puts into Arsenal and what he wants to discard. He takes a red Surging Strike. Makes sense. Needs to discard a card. And then most likely, I would expect him to give me Tiger Stripe Shukos as well as 1 card from hand, which leaves him with 2 cards in hand, plus the Arsenal. Discards a Torrent of Tempo. Here comes the second Leave No Witnesses. And here, 100 wins, as well as Tiger Stripe Shuko. Okay, 12 to 22. I draw from the Ponder to draw blue, Surgical Extraction. Not the best Arsenal target, but okay, I would say. And so my opponent comes in with the Hardened Cross Strap, so he can play the Surging Strike for free. It only comes in for 4, but obviously allows him to use the Katsu ability. There are a few targets, of course, but Dishonor is gone already. So if I don't block this, probably the best choice is to get a Gust Wave. What is it? The Whelming one, the one that draws a card. I'm not sure if he had one in graveyard still. He must have, right? Because he played quite a few. So here he discards a Break Tide to use the Katsu ability. Choosing a Bonds of Agony. So next one will be a Gust Wave. It's a Descendant one, so no fear of drawing a card. So this is for vanilla damage, basically. I take this, and now Bonds of Agony, not Bonds of Agony, Bonds of Ancestry. So 4, and he gets another card, which is 100 wins. So again, vanilla damage coming my way. So taking 4, going down to 10, taking another 3 from 100 wins, taking another 100 wins for 3. And he obviously gets to draw from the aura. So We're down to 7, and then let's see what comes next, but most likely not 7. And so my opponent actually passes and puts this into arsenal. And so here, I actually have a good option to threaten Lethal. Right? Okay, so he has Yellow Surging Strike, 2 Ancestral Empowerment, and a Gust Wave. Send 1. So I do pitch into the Chelicera, coming in for 6 because of the cut from the same cloth and the mark. And so now if he doesn't block that, I can push it by 8 because of the 2 the points. And if he does not have a D-React in arsenal, he might be dead. Which is the case, right? So here my opponent completely, disrespected my potential buffs. By the way, he had a Flood of Force in arsenal, so no D-React here. I think this was a fine game. Not too many mistakes from my end, I believe, but correct me if I'm wrong. Please tell me in the comments. Here, something that happens quite often against Mario, I feel, is where the opponents do not respect the attack reactions enough. I mean, sometimes they are wrong, right? Sometimes there are none, and that also gives a lot of value to you. But especially if they do not block a Chelicera, then there is a lot of power that can come after. Cool. So let me know what you think about the game in the comments, and it would mean a lot to me if you could subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, and see you next time.